Never did I ever expect to see Senku not only shot like we ended last week's episode, but to see him bleeding out. Like, the initial one shot they show, I'm like, okay, that looks bad, and then they just do the close up graphic gore, and I'm like, oh. Yeah, so anyone who was worrying Senku was gonna get off a little too easy, that goes out the window. Yeah, he's down for the count. And I think it not only works perfectly to show, oh, there are stakes in Dr. Stone, and when they pop up, they will make you sweat bullets. The thing is for a while, especially when you rewind to some earlier stuff in Dr. Stone, the passing of the torch, that if anything ever happened to Senku, Senku was convinced that Chrome would be able to keep up the momentum. Like, yeah, maybe not as efficiently and effectively as him, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if someone like Senku's in this world. There will always be a hungry mind that will chase after progression, intelligence, and just, experimentation. And the idea that right now what they need is a drill, Senku obviously is not going to be in any shape to build it. Our boy, for the first time, made his own roadmap, and honestly, it's pretty similar to what Senku would have came up with. Like, maybe it's not going to be as good as something Senku would, because the difference in experience, but you don't currently feel that Chrome is, going to screw them over, or they don't have a chance in hell to do this. No, they probably will. Yeah, there's going to be bumps along the way, but it doesn't change the fact that despite Senku bleeding out, no one ever thinking we'd see Senku like this. I mean, I never even thought when fighting Tsukasa initially that something like this was actually possible. And to be honest, if he wanted to, Senku would be dead. The only reason he shot in the chest was so that potentially he had the time to write down the revival fluid if he was going to die, because as far as they know, the recipes wrote down, so he wanted to give him a moment to be able to do so. That man's skill with a sniper is actually insane. Of course, want to support my work, see my full thoughts on this Dr. Stone greatness, we got the Patreon, full and live reactions available exclusively over there if you're so interested. So, last episode was weird. The initial, oh shit, he made a bulletproof vest, but then blood splatter. I'm thinking to myself, I'm 50-50, I'm torn on it. On one hand, he's going to be walking around this episode with a cane, he's like, shit, I feel pretty bad. Or they're really going to play into the death. And I was hoping they would play into, a death-filled scene, and damn did they. I just wasn't expecting just how bad. It looked bad, but at the same time, you have to, consider, everything we see in the show. You're like, man, he's, so, it's going to just be a little shrapnel. He'll be okay. No, he's down. And the animation, I have to admit, I've always liked how Dr. Stone's looked. I like the animation, especially the insane expressions. But the fear and sorrow in people's face, it was especially well done during that scene. Music's always, on point, too. Dr. Stone, I've been saying it every season since it started, the OST in Dr. Stone is just absolutely amazing. It hits the emotions in all the right ways, and this episode, no exception, especially given the complexity of said emotions in this particular episode. But yeah, the idea that this is probably one of the biggest brain plays they could have done. It probably, I can't tell if it would have worked better with or without Gang, because at this point they know they pretty much can't trust the guy. I mean, at the end of the day, it did work out in our favor, but the idea of giving the Medusa over. You say that, and then at face value, you're like, that's the dumbest thing you could do. It's out of power, so it's actually useless. But it also flexes that, from a scientific point of view, that is clearly not technology of our own world. That wasn't something Senku and company built, right? So the idea that basically we fire it over to them, and, obviously, because if you just shot down the leader, within a few days, they're probably going to launch another attack, or they're going to try to invade and say, hey, surrender. But if you give them a reason to worry to come into too close a proximity, then yeah, they're going to keep their distance. And the idea that they needed a couple of weeks, initially, and apparently a couple of weeks is how long it's going to take for them to finish whatever they're doing. I assume it's a missile. I will be shocked if it's not, because, if you're worried about getting too close and you need something to deal with them at a far enough distance, a missile, right? That's probably what they're finishing up, which is concerning. But yeah, the idea of pretty much flexing and saying, hey, you sure you want to come over too close? We have something you don't know. And because we have Gen there, they can explain that it essentially is the same as the petrification. Without him there, they probably would have assumed it was a threat of some sort. But at the same time, it probably does still work best with him there. It's just they know he's lying through his teeth at this point, as seen by the the crushing of his head so he couldn't hear what they were talking about. It's just fantastic. But Dr. Stone, man, they're hitting it. They're hitting it out of the park. It's been an absolute home run every single week since it came back. Like, the first couple of episodes, a little slower, nothing as crazy, but it still hit exactly what it needed to do. And ever since we've reached the USA, this arc, it feels like we've always been building up to something like this. We just had no idea. Because all the things that came before, while so much smaller in comparison now, the Stone Wars are looking like child's play. It doesn't feel like there's a bad arc now. It's just like, damn, this was just like the training wheels to get us prepared for the actual guerrilla warfare. And I'm not going to be shocked in the slightest at this point if this core ends with some massive blue balls cliffhanger where they pop up through the floor and we're staring directly at our boy. And then just credits fade, you know what I mean? Like, just some, like, shit, they're face to face, and now, you know, I'm just expecting some sick cliffhanger. Like, we know it's a full adaptation. We know it's 3 cores split into 12 batches, you know, each. But still, they're gonna do something nasty with that cliffhanger, I'm sure. I'll be shocked if it's actually a fairly okay cliffhanger. But you know me, I love cliffhangers, so they work, but I'm still gonna call them nasty and bullshit when they happen, either way. You know, it's weird. Senku is without a doubt going to live, at least for this arc. I mean, I'm not saying he might not die by the end of a story's run. I mean, that's always been possible. But the fact that you're removing him for seemingly the rest of this core, right? Like, he's not getting up with... If he does get up, he's not going to be at full capabilities within 3 episodes. At first, I was thinking it could be possible until they really showed just how bad he is. So the idea that he might be able to give some advice, I mean, they're pretty clever with their radio. They're using a cipher, so at the end of the day, you know, you're not going to be able to translate what they're doing. I mean, with enough time, maybe, but still just brilliant stuff. And just the messaging, the themes, the storytelling, moments like these hit, not just because we've had connections to Senku now for so many seasons, but it's the fact that the passing of the torch, like, it was already hinted at in earlier Dr. Stone stuff, so to see Chrome almost ready to run back to Senku until he hears that, like, hey, it's on you now, buddy. We've talked about this before, and him being like, I got this. Obviously, Senku can't build us this drill. I'll do it. Yeah, I'm a little sad that apparently drills have been invented before me, but damn it, I'm still going to build my own version. That's just, it's freaking wonderful. You let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, because, yeah, I don't think anyone ever expected to see Dr. Stone go quite like this. You let me know. Leave a like if you enjoyed, though. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. And like I mentioned, full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alright, so today we got Alex, Korosami Fan, Powoof, Ixabees, A. Evie, Shut Your Trap, Frank the Bank, Andrea Gramuller, Ray Rar, and we also have Philippe. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You all have a good one.